I mean, let's just talk about real quick the Nick Foles tweet.
Oh, it was outstanding.
It was the tweet of the year, and our producers are going to put it in. But this is it has like 15, 16 million views. He talks about how the Patriots struggle. With backup quarterbacks going in
key games. Welcome to Scoop City on a Wednesday. I'm James Palmer. Please don't forget to like and subscribe because we got the dream team back together again today. We got Chase Daniel. We got Dianna Russini, the Athletics senior NFL insider. Look at this. We got everybody in the house because it's a packed show. Who doesn't know about a backup quarterback stepping in to the top stage? Then Chase Daniel. We're going to talk about Jarrett Stidham and what he could see from a guy that he knows very, very well with a coach that he knows very, very well. What could we see from Denver's offense? Chase Daniel will break that down for us. And speaking of breakdowns, he'll also break down a Drake Maye and Matthew Stafford X's and O's for us. Ooh, love when we get into the film and all the fallout from the Buffalo Bills. Sean McDermott is out of a job. And then we have a very interesting press conference. Before we get to that press conference, hello, friends. How are we doing on this Wednesday of championship week?
It's just y'all's world. You know, we haven't been together in a long time, but the thing is, before the show, I was saying, you guys are rocking it, by the way, and it's your season. I'm like very exhausted from college season and football season, but James, you and Dianna are just, this is your Super Bowl right now, and you guys are crushing it. Let's go.
Dianna's been crushing it.
It's been relentless, guys. Like it's one of those, you don't even have like a minute to take a shower type of seasons, which I'm sure you can see that.
Stanky.
So
I can't smell through these screens,
God.
but
smell vision.
Yeah.
Look, James, I know everyone you talk to is saying the same thing that they're saying to me. No one has seen a cycle like this ever. Like this is the most aggressive cycle in terms of firings and hirings and moving parts, really, right? Because you have a lot of coaches that are playing this weekend. They're on the board for some of these openings, some of these coordinator positions as well, and this stuff needs to unfold. And I do think there's like a feeling of urgency, yet there's nothing you can do about it. You kind of have to just sit and wait. So as you see, Buffalo, the latest team that's jumping in on this thing.
It's unbelievable. Look, it's like Patrick Mahomes doesn't make the postseason and everybody goes, we got a chance. We didn't succeed. We're firing our head coach.
A third of the league. A third of the league. I mean, when was the last time there's been 10? Like, I don't follow it. What do you guys know the last time there was 10? I mean, usually it's 7 to 8, but 10?
I think it was like 2017, but yeah, this is a lot. I haven't seen there's usually some dork out there who puts it out historically. I haven't seen it. But I'm just trying to go off the top of my head of when was it the craziest?
But the pedigree of coaches,
it's not the amount of openings, it's which openings. Like, I can't believe we're talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Baltimore Ravens, the Buffalo Bills right now. I cannot believe that there's openings. The Bills opening has got to be maybe one of the best openings since we saw Green Bay open in 2019 when Matt LaFleur got it.
And we were kind of saying that about the Ravens. By the way, our resident dork Jeremy says 2022 in terms of using Diana's loving reference of the dorks out there.
Sorry, Jeremy.
How about the last two MVPs, though? Last two MVPs open?
Last two MVPs have openings.
That's what's crazy.
Blue blood franchises, all these different things. Well, let's start with that. I'm going to play for you guys just a little clip of Bills owner Terry Pegula, who I saw in that Bills locker room. He witnessed a lot what I witnessed, which was a locker room that was unlike many I've ever seen in terms of the devastation that transpired. A lot of what happened in that loss in the divisional round to the Broncos maybe was because of the roster. Terry had a few thoughts. Mac, roll this.
Yeah, can I interrupt? I'll address the Keon situation. The coaching staff pushed to draft Keon. I'm not saying Brandon wouldn't have drafted him, but he wasn't his next choice. That was Brandon being a team player and taking advice of his coaching staff, who felt strongly about the player. And, he's taken, for some reason, heat over it and not saying a word about it. But I'm here to tell you the true story.
Is it over?
That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
It's over?
Rule number one of Fight Club. You don't let everybody know who picked who, whether it was a home run hit or if it was an absolute bust. And to do that, and look, this is what's cool about being an owner. Nobody cares what you have to say.
You don't answer to anyone.
You don't
Well, they
answer
care
to
what you have to say, Diana, but they can't do anything about it.
You can't do anything about it.
You don't answer to anyone. You can say whatever the hell you want. Here's my thing, and I want your thought too, guys, because you guys are obviously much more adept at owners talking. But when you throw your coach, who got you to the playoffs for the first time in like 15 years, and Sean, or your old coach, Sean McDermott, under the bus. I mean, literally under the bus, and then Keon Coleman, who is still on the roster. If I'm Keon Coleman, right, and I'm from a player's perspective, bye-bye, trade me, get me out of there. You're literally talking crap about me. And then, I mean, X is undefeated. Twitter's undefeated. Because then, of course, right when that was said, everyone on Twitter finds the combine of Brandon Beane saying, "Oh, I'm so glad he ran a 4.61 or a 4.65. That'll make us get him a lot easier." What? Who's lying here? Like that clip. I'm like that clip goes completely. It's like I don't get it. I don't get it.
I don't know how Keon Coleman stays on this roster. Honestly,
get him out.
I don't know what you do. Yeah. I don't know what you do moving forward. He's the most popular. He's almost being talked about more than Sean McDermott coming out of this press conference because he is a current player on the roster, as Chase said. They thought he was going to have a very good year. It did not transpire that way. But you are, and I the part that, Diana, doesn't make any sense to me is when Terry Pegula says, and Brandon has taken a lot of heat over this. You're the general manager. I'm sorry. You take heat for when roster moves don't work out.
Imagine
it's
that.
a criteria, and it's part of the job. What
so we have general
transpires in the
managers
buildings, right?
We have general managers in football who listen to this show. So listen up, guys who are listening. This is the reality. The relationships that the general managers have with owners in football are always strong and usually better than what the head coach has, simply because they're spending more time with them, because they are more communicative, because they've got more time, right? Head coaches are slammed all day long, wall to wall with all the issues, whether it's players, whether it's just internal things. We know how much they handle. General managers don't have as much on their plate, and they can communicate, and they usually are the ones that are required to keep the owner in the loop. And I do think this helps. It's relationship 101. And the story of the general manager is going to land on the desk of the owner over the head coach just because of that. And I'm not saying that Brandon Beane is a bad general manager. I don't think that's true. They've gone in the playoffs 8 times. It's just the way this has played out. You would think Sean McDermott was a bozo, and that is not the case. That is not the way the league feels about him. It's not the way that locker room feels about him. And I'm the only thing that was a bit jarring was the Pegulas have always operated very classy. I was surprised their irritation and frustration with the way this ended came out in the press conference the way in which it did. I thought I was going to see, like, I get it. They're feeling it like the fan base is, but to blame Sean McDermott, I didn't think that was fair.
Can I just say what you should have said?
Okay.
Ready? I'm Terry Pegula. When I went in that locker room after the divisional game, I could see that we have gotten to a point that a change needed to be made. We consistently have gotten to a very high level. We need to make a change in some capacity. I chose Sean McDermott myself, but we have been right there. Thanks to Sean. We thank him for everything he's done for this organization. We were not perceived the way we've been perceived over the last 8-9 years, for the last 20 prior to him getting here. So we have to thank him for everything that he has done. But I decided to make a change to get us to that next step. We're going to see what we can do with our next head coach, and we're excited about it. And Brandon's going to lead our search.
Stop hosting shows and reporting and go into public relations, because
it's simple. Like, I feel like they have botched this from the beginning. You don't do the Brandon Beane promotion in the same press release as firing Sean McDermott. I just think that's very difficult. And your fifth word is misprint
too, by the way.
Whoa,
it's an admirable.
Police. Chase Daniel, grammar police.
Admirable versus but here's the thing from the locker room too. And I would agree with you that they are known as like a classy organization. I know multiple guys on that Buffalo Bills team. When you see an owner come out with a smear campaign on a coach that these Buffalo Bills guys did not want fired,
beloved,
you are not happy. You are not happy. Like you do everything in your power to send this coach off who, by the way, did so much for your organization when it was at the bottom. They brought him in and it was at the bottom. I mean, we were not talking about the Bills like it was Jim Kelly day. And then you go out and you smear. Now, I don't know if it was his intention to, but it just looks a little funny from a player's perspective. And here's the thing too, Diane, I'm going to add to your point about general managers watching the show. There is the week of general managers and head coaches. The head coaches are so busy, like you were saying, but they're usually in on conversations and they usually get time with the owner at some point during the week. And they usually are talking to the GM. They're usually building game plans. You know, the 3 hours during the entire week that the head coach is not an understanding of what's going on between the GM and the owner. You know those 3 hours? It's called game day. It's called game day. So those 3 hours are the most important hours of the week on how the owner perceives the head coach, because it's so easy. And I'm not saying Brandon Beane does this, but I know some GMs absolutely do, to nitpick from a suite in a box way up in the air and say, well, he should have done that different. Well, he should have done that different. And even if that's not the case, and then the head coach and the GM get on the same page after the game, oh, this is why it happened. Those words, time and time again, can play into an owner's thought process on moving on from a coach. The head coach cannot defend himself during those 3 hours of the week. And that's to me what it looks like happened when they're sitting in the box and they're sitting in Buffalo's there and they're fighting for their lives in Denver. That's what it looks like happened to me.
I've had that conversation multiple times with head coaches. It's a big thorn in the side, Chase, of head coaches, the way they think. I'll add one little nugget because we do need to move on because Dianna has news and we need to get to it. I like that it was phrased, the coaching staff made that point. I do know a lot of coaches lose their jobs for loyalty to members of their staff. I'll just say this. I believe that was more of a staff pick than a Sean McDermott pick, to my understanding, in terms of Keon Coleman. So that was Sean going to that for those on his staff in terms of who really, really wanted Keon Coleman. And we'll see what his future is essentially there. Okay, let's stick with that spot in Buffalo, Dianna, and go, where do things go from here? Who could they be looking at? Is it a familiar face that's from the region that could be a candidate to come into Buffalo and be their next head coach?
Well, they're getting right to this, right? So they had the press conference on Wednesday here, and they're going to begin interviews with former New York Giants head coach Brian Daboll in person in Buffalo, followed by Colts defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo. Anthony Weaver is going to be in that mix too, the Dolphins defensive coordinator, who's also up for those head coaching jobs with the Baltimore Ravens, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Arizona Cardinals. And from what I gather, both the Ravens and the Steelers are staying in touch with him and his camp in terms of, like, they like him. So I could see him being a finalist for those jobs, but Buffalo is in on Weaver as well. You have Joe Brady, who's the offensive coordinator there. That's an in-house candidate that they'll interview. Joe Brady is also interviewed for other head coaching openings like Arizona. So they're going to give him a shot to see if he could take over here. So the direction that I understand that they're trying to go in here, it's kind of a mix of what we've talked about in the past here about what organizations are looking for. It's a bit of that sort of leader of men, you know, those qualities that we saw in Sean McDermott. But I believe they are leaning more towards the offensive side of this thing, right? And it makes sense, right? Josh Allen, it's about his success and giving him that support. And I do think that's why someone like Brian Daboll gets an interview. Obviously, based on what he did in New York, the report card is just okay. But what he's done with Josh Allen is a different story. So we'll see if that actually works. He's obviously from Buffalo. It makes sense. But I'm sure he's going to have to explain a lot of things that went on in New York because, of course, you know, you guys know this, Brandon Beane has very strong connections and a strong friendship with the general manager of the New York Giants, and that being Joe Schoen. So they've all been together. They all know each other well. They know their strengths. They know their weaknesses. So we'll see how this plays out. But they're going to do some of these interviews up in Buffalo, and then they're also going to do some of them down in Boca in Florida, where the Pegula family resides. So we'll see that over the next few days.
Do the candidates get to say, hey, can I go to Miami for my interview? Or
I literally had a conversation with a candidate about that today. He's like, any chance that we can have a choice? Like if we could do Florida? I'm like, I laughed. I'm like, sounds good, but probably not. Now, if I'm Brian Dable and Lou Anarumo, I want to be in Buffalo and I want to be there right now, right? And those are the interviews they're getting because teams do this on purpose. There's a reason why it's lined up the way it is. Anthony Lynn is also in that mix. Of course, he has those connections and a history with Buffalo, so he'll meet with them on Saturday. So Buffalo is off and running.
Okay. Buffalo's off and running. And now, and I want Chase's take on this next one, Mike McDaniel landing in Los Angeles with the Chargers. Now, Chase, you know, and well, first let you know, you give us why this happened, how this happened, then Chase, follow up with what you expect to see out of this offense.
Okay, so Mike has had a lot of options, as we know. Guys, Chase, I'm sure you've been observing this from your seat. The offensive-minded coach right now is missing in this cycle. Teams are struggling with figuring out who is going to come in here and run the offenses, which I feel like in years past that wasn't a problem, but right now it is. And so that's why you see someone like a Mike McDaniel come from Miami, get fired there, and now appeared to have a lot of different options. He backed out of the Cleveland Browns job because he knew this Charger thing was going to work for him. He had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Philadelphia Eagles on the table as well as offensive coordinators, but he chose Justin Herbert. He chose the Chargers organization. He went out there, he met with them, they had dinner all together, and he was pretty sold on it all. Of course, family's always a part of this. His wife is from California. That doesn't hurt, right? If you're familiar with the area. Look, I think Philly was in on him hard. Tampa Bay was in on him hard. And he could have had either of those. But in the end, he chose Justin Herbert.
Who would you rather coach is the tweet I put out. Would you rather coach Justin Herbert? Would you rather coach Jalen Hurts? Or would you rather coach Baker Mayfield? And I'm with you. I think that this offensive coordinator opening was the best job out there. I mean, I really do. I think that Justin Herbert, in terms of offensive play calling, and in terms of what Justin Herbert does well, it's everything. I mean, here's the thing about Justin. He needs to get past the playoff game. He needs to stay healthy. He needs to win a playoff game. And if you look at the offenses that Justin Herbert has played under, really, Greg Roman, I like him, right? And I applaud Harbaugh for making a change when a change is needed. You've never really thought of Greg Roman as this throw the ball down the field, play action type guy. It's just really not sort of what he did. And he made it work in LA. You look at Joe Lombardi, and I was there with him for Justin Herbert's, I guess the 3 years he was with him. Well, I was there 2 years. I think Lombardi was there 3. It's a different style offense. It's the Denver Broncos, New Orleans Saints offense where it's a lot of quick game, some play action, throw it up shots, right? Then you look at what Mike McDaniel can do, and he is an under center at his core, Shanahan disciple that loves to use a lot of shifts, a lot of motions, a lot of personnel groupings, and throw the freaking football down the field. You just look at his Tua days. He sort of switched his offense up a little bit because Tua likes to get the ball out. Tua is a one progression quarterback in my mind. Justin Herbert is a multiple progression quarterback. So imagine the offense in Miami now maybe possibly getting to a second or third progression, throwing the football, pushing it down the field. And then the run game scheme to me is excellent. It's not just power. It's not just duo. It's not just it's multiple different variations of the run game and personnel groupings. And you look at Omari Hampton, you look at getting both those all-pro tackles back, Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnson, and you got to get, maybe Keenan Allen comes back. It's going to be, that's why I think it's the best opening. And I just think Herbert's ceiling is still there. I don't think he's reached his potential, not even close. No. And so you go with a good defense. It doesn't hurt that you go from Miami to LA. It just makes a whole lot of sense for me.
Yeah.
Can he do what he does, though?
You. I love that we have a quarterback on the show. Because you lay it out in such real terms, right? Like James and I know the game very well, but when you hear it from you, it's so clear. It makes so much sense. James, what do you think of the personality matchup between Jim and Mike.
They're both quirky, right?
Everybody, I mean, the tweets were flying. This is a buddy cop sitcom comedy. We need a reality show, all these different things. What I am fascinated, Chase laid out a lot of things, and I think Mike does a lot of those, Dianna. I really do. I think this team, and my understanding was they needed to modernize some things. They needed to change some things schematically to protect Justin, to kind of, change the way they do it, to kind of push it forward.
Modernize is a good word.
Yeah, and that was kind of the word that was given to me. But how much of this is going to still be, because I was told, Jim Harbaugh's offense? Like, Jim is still going to be there. Like, I mean, Jim's still going to say, we run the ball. Like, I am fascinated to see how this dynamic chase does work. And there's a young tight end in this, by the way, that you didn't mention that I also think is very talented.
Yeah.
They got weapons.
Well, here's my thought on that. That's actually a really good point, James. If Mike McDaniel, like Dianna and you were saying, was up for every single offensive coordinator job and even some head coach jobs, this makes me think that Harbaugh is saying, hey, we want to be able to run the football, but I'm giving you full autonomy on it. Like, I am giving it all to you and to let you run it. Now, of course, Harbaugh's still going to have his hand in it and stuff like that. But this makes me think, I don't know, because of the fit personality-wise doesn't make sense. It just seems like he's going to have full control over this offense, because how else would you get him away from Philly, who has a two-time Super Bowl quarterback, an MVP, Super Bowl MVP, all this stuff? Like, I get it. I think he's going to have more control than maybe we think.
Okay, Dianna, you mentioned Philly. Very quickly, if you can do this, because I know you have to run. Diana's got like 90 jobs. Can you touch on the attractability of Philly right now? Because I know they had kind of at the top of their list Mike McDaniel, Brian Daboll. Daboll's still kind of fishing around. And then possibly who Robert Saleh's offensive coordinator could be in Nashville.
Yeah, it's kind of all connected, right? Because you've got Philadelphia right now who they want to fill this role, and they lost out on Mike McDaniel. They would like Brian Daboll. Brian Daboll is going to be interviewing for what I would consider probably his dream job. He's from Buffalo to be the Buffalo Bills head coach, so he's going to get that shot.
It's every fan in Buffalo's job, like dream.
If he doesn't get the Bills job, though, right, you still have other opportunities for him. And by the way, we're not even counting the coordinator jobs for the coaches that are in line to get the head coaching jobs. The coaches that are playing this weekend who have head coach opportunities who want Daboll to go with them, right? So he's really going to be able to have their pick. And from the sense I'm getting, Tennessee really wants Daboll. I think Daboll really wants to be there. This seems like this will work out if Buffalo were to go in a different direction from Daboll. So that's great news for Tennessee if that works out, because you've got Cam Ward. And I do think Daboll being around a young quarterback that he can shape and mold is valuable over, let's say, Philadelphia, where Jalen's very set in the way he does it. And that Philadelphia staff is very set in the way they're doing it. Now, from what I understand, Philly was open to giving both McDaniel and Brian Daboll a lot of control of this offense. Like, this was their show. So, of course, it's still always going to be on the table for Daboll in terms of Philly. We'll see what he winds up deciding in the end. But now the Eagles are going to have to put together a list of, all right, who else? And they have a list, and they've been reaching out to different candidates. But, you look around the league, who's available that would make sense? Brian Callahan is out there. You have Zach Robinson from Atlanta, the offensive coordinator from last year. Could that be a possibility? Obviously, Bobby Slowick is another choice. So this is just something I think Philly may have to be patient and wait a little bit before they get their guy. And of course, if the Buffalo job is filled, let's just say it's an offensive-minded guy, and they decide they want to move on from Joe Brady, maybe Joe Brady becomes an option for the Eagles. So it's, Chase, you said it before, and I think I read it on Twitter too, your opinion about it. I don't think we need to do a lot of digging and reporting on how these coaches are viewing these jobs in terms of the value of the quarterback. If Mike McDaniel had his choice and he picked Justin Herbert, I believe that tells you who he thinks is the best quarterback of those three. If Brian Daboll sits there and picks Tennessee, I think that also tells us a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I have a question.
Sure.
So we've seen 4 head coach openings go to 4 former head coaches. How important is that factor, James or Dianna, in teams' searches that they want some stability maybe?
Yes. Well, it's experience, right? Nobody is patient. Nobody wants to sit there and go through the growing pains of a first year head coach, especially if you have a team that's built to win now. And even on the other side of it, you don't have a team built now. To also have a head coach not knowing what he's doing is hard.
Yeah.
And it's also risky to hire a first time head coach because you don't know what it's going to be. You don't know what it's going to look like. And most of these teams want identity immediately. And how can you guarantee that if you've never done it before? You have to really believe in somebody that they can do it, which is why I think you're seeing a lot of these guys that have either been head coaches before or close to it, like an Anthony Weaver, really be, kind of running the show right now. Yeah. First-time head coaches are going to be behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, it is such a copycat league. It's almost like, and I was hearing this about a couple of these organizations, Diana, whether they've had their coach for a long time in Pittsburgh and Baltimore and Buffalo. It's like, whoa, if they moved on, then maybe we should move on. Like, honestly, owners are humans too. They think about things like this a little bit, and you wouldn't be the same thought process, obviously, as who you're hiring to replace them as well. And so,
we need shirts made. Trends. Owners are humans too, and
owners
give it to every owner at a press conference.
Well, I'm sure I think some people would appreciate that right now.
I think some people do debate that. Diana, you're the greatest. Get back to work. Chase is going to break down some X's and O's with Drake Maye and Matthew Stafford next. You can't miss this on Scoop City. All right, welcome back to Scoop City on a Wednesday. James Palmer, Chase Daniel with you as we break down these quarterbacks in the 2 conference championship games. We'll start with the AFC, where, Chase, the role of a backup quarterback is what? If your starter goes down, let's have you in a position to win a handful of games to keep this season afloat. We saw it with Davis Mills. We saw it with Mac Jones. Well, now these handful of games are 2, and we need Jarrett Stidham to win them both, and he wins a Super Bowl. No pressure to our boy Stiddy, who's one of the best dudes in the league. You know him well. I was just talking to him on Saturday night before he had any knowledge of Bo Nix's postseason being over. How is this week going for Jarrett Stidham? Take us inside that building. You know Sean Payton better than anybody that's talking in front of a camera, and you know Jarrett Stidham. This week, what is transpiring in Dove Valley?
Yeah, it's crazy, man. First of all, before we even get into that, I know you saw it, and I know everyone saw it. Did you see? I mean, let's just talk about real quick the Nick Foles tweet.
Oh, it was outstanding.
It was the tweet of the year, and our producers are going to put it in. But this is it has like 15, 16 million views. He talks about how the Patriots struggle with backup quarterbacks going in
key games.
In key games. Look, I know that this sort of reminds me of the Nick Foles type thing because I know what kind of player Stidham is. I know Foles got some other games as warm-ups. But when you're in a situation like this, like I've been in a situation similar, obviously like not AFC championship game, but in 2018, short week, going into the Thanksgiving Day game for the Chicago Bears, Mitch Trubisky messes up his shoulder, right? And I think it was like the quickest turnaround time because we had played Sunday night and we were playing like Thursday, like 30 minutes before I think it was like 11:30 a.m. start or something, whatever it was. Yeah. And so we had very little time. And it was just one of those things where instincts take over as a backup quarterback. Like you try not to think too much about the game plan. You just trust your physical ability. And with Jarrett Stidham, like the game ends Sunday and it's hoopla, and all of a sudden, like I know the feeling. Because Sean Payton's like, he comes up to the media, he says the media, he didn't even tell the players. And then you go to,
I was waiting for Bo Nix. We're sitting there waiting for Bo.
And you go in and then you probably go straight to Jarrett Stidham. And I guarantee you this is how, because I know Sean, this is how the conversation went. Nix broke his ankle. Let's go, bro. You're up. And walks away. Like that's it. Because you don't want to put too much pressure on him. And then the amount of thought process that goes in from Jarrett Stidham, you're probably thinking about 1,000 different things. But ultimately, Monday, you're in the building and you're like, all right, let's put this game to rest. Let's get started on this Patriots team. And you're probably doing advanced scouting. Then Tuesday, I know how this system works. You're in there for 8 hours on the off day, and you're watching the last 4 Patriots games, and Stidham's doing his thing, the coaching staff's doing this thing. Okay, what does Stiddy do better? What does Stiddy do well? How do we get these matchups? And then Wednesday, like today, we're filming this on Wednesday. Dude, you're right into base first, second down. And I don't know how the Patriots, or I don't know how the Broncos have been doing it, but a lot of times later in the season, it's almost like a walkthrough, and that sort of stinks for backup quarterbacks. Like you want that full rep on Wednesday. So in reality, James, if they are doing a Wednesday practice, Stiddy's only going to get Thursday and a red zone Friday to throw with these receivers. That's the biggest thing I think for a backup quarterback is like Stiddy has been running the scout team all year. Stiddy would have been Drake Maye against the Broncos starting defense if Bo Nix was playing, if that makes sense. So now all of a sudden you're running your plays with your receivers trying to get on the same timing. So it is a little bit of an interesting process. And here's one thing, and I'll let, I know I've been talking a lot, but here's the one thing that I think a lot of people may have wrong with this game. There is no way in hell that Sean Payton is going to not go out swinging, meaning Jarrett Stidham is going to throw the football all over the yard. Like they love Stiddy. They love what he can do. They're going to throw the football. First of all, they don't have a run game. You have to throw the football against this Patriots team. The one matchup I'm going to be looking at is how does he handle protections versus Patriots team that likes to blitz a lot.
Great point. That's a great point. I'm looking at the receivers he has. Is Christian Gonzalez going to follow Cortland Sutton around? He was most likely going to do that with Nico Collins last week. I would. And the next 2 guys might be down, essentially, in Troy Franklin and Pat Bryant, so it'll leave Marvin Mims as that other receiver. 2 other little nuggets that I have there is, remember, on the first day of free agency with Sean Payton as the head coach of the Denver Broncos, he made 3 moves. Getting Jarrett Stidham was one of them. And he paid 2 years, $10 million for Stidham. He wanted him in the building. And I also wanted to add this, Chase, before we move on to your X's and O's on Drake Maye. The 2 things I would keep an eye on, and this is just from some offensive coaches that I texted, cadence. You've heard it from one voice the entire year. For the last 2 years, you've only, as an offensive player, heard it from one voice, right? So even when it's delivered in the huddle, it's only been one voice. Like you could misunderstand something. That's just a little one. And then at the line, I think them being at home certainly helps actually, because of the crowd noise. And the other one is timing, timing being the other one with these guys.
The cadence thing is actually fascinating because when I watch, and it's maybe to a blind eye, but when I'm watching starters like Knicks, like it's wide 80 set Hut, and he's going out on the second set Hut he's getting the ball and the center's going, and everyone moves in motion. And I've seen some backups this year. It's like wide 80 set Hut, and they're waiting for the ball. And I'm telling you, each and every play, if that offensive lineman is 0.3 to 0.5 seconds just behind, it's not in Denver's favor. It's not in Denver's favor at all. So I actually think here's the wild thing. I actually think being at home hurts them more.
You just want to just go silent and go.
I would way rather use silent cadence because they're used to it and it's easier. Now I don't think it's going to be a huge deal, but it's definitely something to watch. That's a great point by you.
All right, cool. Appreciate it. Thank you for having a few. That's wonderful. Drake Maye, the quarterback on the other side. We have a bit of a breakdown here against this Denver Broncos defense. Little X's and O's you want to take us through about a guy who is in the MVP conversation, how could win the MVP. We'll see. But that has yet to be determined. He'd like to be not attending that ceremony at NFL Honors. He'd like to be preparing for the Super Bowl in a couple of days. What do you see from Drake Maye when you break down the film, Chase?
Yeah, before we break down the actual play, like I think that Drake Maye, to me, has played MVP level ball. And if you look at the stat sheet, just pure stat, if you're just stat watching from this Houston Texans game and you're saying, low completion percentage, didn't throw for 200 yards, you're going to say, he probably didn't play that well. I thought Drake Maye, and I called the game for the ESPN app, the Monday Night Football playbook, whatever, for the divisional game. So I had a front row seat. Like I thought he played really, really well because he made some throws in critical situations. And look, the pocket presence needs to be there, but let's roll the tape because this is one of the most critical situations. This is going to be a cover zero blitz. And when you're blitzing in cover zero, you got to make sure you have answers. First of all, he says Hut, right? He protects it. You see him pointing left, and that's Pop Douglas in the slot. It's clearly cover zero. Do you have a built-in answer? Yes. That's actually pretty good coverage by Bullock, right? But you're able to pinpoint accurately
finger on this
throw
ball, too.
the
It was
football.
real
He got a
tight.
finger on it, but watch Drake Maye point to the left. He gets his protection set. He understands that the back is free releasing to the right, and he understands he has to beat the nickel pressure coming off the side. It doesn't get to him. Pop Douglas closes and closes his face against them and is able to. I just thought here, to me, this is just such growth from Maye. All right, let's Mike 39 mean send the center to the left. When we do that, hey, I know I got to beat 5 Petrie, not so much, and then able to throw him open. And I just think the growth and the mindset behind what Drake Maye has done, specifically Josh McDaniels, and I think that's going to be a key this week, is how Josh McDaniels sort of schemes open players versus Denver's team. And I actually, I like the Denver Broncos defense a lot. I think that the Broncos defensive line could have a huge day, specifically the left side where the Patriots had go rookie left guard, rookie left tackle. How are they going to handle that? Are they going to do overload fronts? Drake Maye's pocket presence hasn't been good. And I think that Drake Maye, to me, they're going to have to win this game through Drake Maye's arm. And so it's going to be fascinating to see how well they can do it, how well they have things schemed up.
Yeah, the part that I'm looking at that ties in entirely to what you're saying is Denver Broncos top 5 team in pressure rate, top 5 team in blitz rate. Do they blitz that much, Chase, against Drake, who's had a tremendous season against the blitz, as you just showed it? And you know what? There's people in that locker room that I've talked to that said, we have Zach Allen, Nick Bonito, Jonathan Cooper, John Franklin Myers, Malcolm Roach, this front. We don't need to blitz as much as we blitz. It's interesting, in an AFC championship game, would you change what you're used to doing? Because they do kind of have a way they do things defensively. Yeah. Do you change your colors? Let's see, because, I could see them doing that a little bit and going, hey, we can win. Look at what Houston did. They did win on that left side. Will Anderson, speed to power guy. Yes. Nick Bonito is a speed to power guy. He's the second fastest get off in football behind Myles Garrett. So they're a speed rush team. Could they maybe change their sense in how they blitz a little bit? I think that's
here's the one. Yeah, I do. And here's the one thing, like when you say blitz and a lot of people probably are like, oh my gosh, they're bringing all these crazy,
he likes to find he moves for a one-on-one matchup. There's 5
exactly.
At times.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think you change it at all. I think, in fact, you do more 5-man fronts. It's called a bear front. So left tackle, left guard, center, right guard, right tackle, they're all covered by guys, whether it's one a linebacker or whether it's 5D line, whatever it is.
He just wants to win a one-on-one. Yep.
I like that. You want to get one-on-ones. And I actually think, now, hot take, I would just play press man the whole game. Like, I don't know if, like, Booty's going to have a deep ball threat. I get that. Diggs is really good in the slot. How do you get Diggs matched up possibly versus a safety or a nickel or something like that? But other than that, like, I like Pop Douglas on that side. I don't know, and I think it's an advantage for Denver to just come out and play 5-man rush man. Now, you're going to do more stuff than that. I get that. But I think early and often you hit Drake Maye, I think you can get a couple takeaways in the pocket off Drake Maye, unless he protects the football really well.
Yep, and they did that against Josh Allen last week, forcing a strip sack fumble by Nick Bonito there. And I do think facing James Cook, by the way, and then we're going to break this thing down real quick, this past week actually helps them in terms of the style of running, of bouncing things outside of what Travion Henderson does for those explosive runs. Make sure you end it right. They changed what they were doing against the run halfway through that game, and I thought did a pretty good job with it. What's your pick on this AFC title game, which is exactly the same as the one I was at 10 years ago, but it was Peyton Manning and Tom Brady playing in that one?
Yeah, 2 completely different quarterbacks, right? City versus Drake Maye. Look, I think that Denver being at home is a huge factor. I really do. And I think that even though the Broncos have a backup quarterback, I like Sean Payton, offensively minded coach, and also strategy-wise, been in this situation. I don't know if the Patriots can do what they did last week again against Houston's defense. It's a completely different scheme on Broncos. I actually like Denver winning this game. I think it's going to be like a 24-21 game, a 23-20 game. Rough, tough. Both defenses are really good. I think it will take City a quarter or two to get sort of, hey, all right, here we go. The speed of the game's completely different in a playoff game. But I'm going against traditional knowledge of like, oh my God, they got a backup court. This is not going to be a walk in the park in my mind for the New England Patriots.
I think I might pick the Patriots, and it's not because Stiddy's playing. I think he may be fine. It's really that defense, Chase, is the strength of Denver's team, right? It has been the entire season. If Josh McDaniels can get the best of that defense, that might be really that strength. Those two minds, man. Vance Joseph, Josh McDaniels going against each other. If Josh wins that matchup, I think New England ends up winning.
I think Denver has to somehow, some way score 3 touchdowns to have a chance. Now, the one thing you said, if they can score 3 touchdowns somehow, some way, who's Stiddy throwing to? Right? That's sort of the thing of like, all right, you got Mims as the number 2. Sutton has to get involved early, but yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a fascinating game.
Yeah, involved early is good. I mean, before the fourth quarter, that's what happened in the divisional game. He did not get targeted until the fourth quarter. Cortland Sutton. Maybe we change that. Okay, all right. How about Sam Darnold versus the Rams? And what we could see from Sam, obviously, and I think maybe this is a good thing, he's got that oblique. It's on the left side. I wanted to ask you this as a quarterback. So the oblique injury is on the left-hand side. I thought rolling left might be a bit of an issue. How are things? He didn't have to throw a bunch. It's still going to be somewhat of something, but just give everybody from a quarterback's perspective, left side injury on your trunk here. That's a very scientific term. How does that impact throwing the football or in anything playing the position?
Well, I think any oblique injury, left or right side, will absolutely hurt it because the power you get from your left side, you have to actually open up as you're throwing, and that anything on the left side, like left rib, left anything. Now, right side, I get it would be harder because you can't stretch it as much, but it's just something you're going to have to deal with. And look, vitamin T, Toradol, is going to be huge for this, right? Like that's something that you can manage. Yeah, here's the thing, though. With Sam Darnold, like they haven't in the last couple games asked him to do too much. And I think that's actually genius by Kubiak because I think you run the football. I think that you play really amazing defense. You get short fields, you get a couple takeaways, you get Rashid Shaheed on a shot play and maybe a return to, and then you're winning the game. I mean, they're blowing people out. And I put out a tweet when they beat San Francisco, and I know San Francisco was a little bit banged up. I was like, I don't see them losing again. Like they're just that good. But I didn't say CC Sam Darnold because it does come down to the quarterback. It does come down to Sam Darnold. And I don't think the Rams defense is all that good. And with Sam Darnold, you have to be able to, here's the thing. Like if Sam Darnold can get to a Super Bowl, will we finally stop talking about it? Like, I know, are we going to start the narrative like, oh, well, it was his team that carried him. Well, at some point, the quarterback's making decisions, and he's made really good decisions. The one thing, James, before we move on to Matthew Stafford, how in the world does he handle pressure? He is not a great quarterback at handling pressure. If you get to him early and you hit him and you rattle him and you make him make that one mistake a lot more oftentimes than not, it waterfalls into multiple mistakes. And that is the one thing I'm going to be paying attention to. Can the Rams hit them early? Can the Rams get some pressure on them? A lot of quick game. Can they pick them off? Something like that. Yeah, I think that's a great call. He had more, I believe, tied for, what do you have? No, 11 of his 20 turnovers happened when he was under pressure. That was his 6 picks and 5 fumbles. A lot of turnovers happened when he was under a lot of that pressure. And this team brings pressure, and they bring pressure without bringing extra guys oftentimes with the way that they play this defensive scheme with Chris Shula. So you're right. That is something to watch. I do think he bounced back okay in both of those games that he played. He had 6 turnovers, 6 picks against the Rams this year, 4 in one and 2 in the other. So that's obviously not what you want to see. But man, has he taken some shots downfield? If he's not pressured, he's been outstanding getting those shots downfield. And you mentioned one to Rashid Shaheed, so maybe we're on the same page there. No Zach Charbonnet, just remember that. He is out, but Kenneth Walker has been the starter and has been a good back against the Rams in both games. He's been really good lately. I think you just feed Kenneth Walker is what you're going to have to do. Okay, Matthew Stafford. This is going to be your other X's and O's breakdown here, Chase. Tell me what we're going to see here with I haven't seen this, with Stafford on the field running this Rams offense. Yeah, before we break it down, I want to go back to last game against the Bears and the Bears defense for leading the league in takeaways and turnovers and stuff. They haven't played super well, a lot of space in coverage. And other than the first drive, I thought that Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay both had poor games. Yet you still win because yet you get this game to a point in overtime and you just do enough to win the game because, dude, Stafford's been there before. He's got a Super Bowl. He's done this. McVay's done this. The experience factor that comes in. So if you're purely weighing Sam Darnold and Matthew Stafford, it's Matthew Stafford without a doubt. He's going to be the MVP, and that's why it was hard to pick a throw. And we'll show you it right now for Matthew Stafford. But it was a third down in late in the game. He's on the right hash. Devontae Adams is down here, and they just do an out route. And I'm telling you right now, the Bears defender tries to undercut this. But the best view, I mean, you picked the right throw, but to the field, the right one to break down. Watch him move a little bit to his right, screen left, and able to get how? How are you able to throw across your body for a toe tap? And this might be the best one. It's just so subtle. It's just so subtle. But the difficulty on this throw, look at him move to the right, and he's facing downfield because he doesn't want the corner to pick it off. He throws around. It is just those subtle differences in his game, because when it's clutch time and when it's time to make a play, and I think this game comes down to the quarterback, just Stafford is so good. Even though he didn't play well, now he's in another NFC championship game. He's just so good.
He is so good, and he's dropped back 79 times in 2 games against the Seahawks this year. He has not been sacked or committed a turnover. I think he's been hit just 7 times. Wow. And if you give Stafford that ability to survey the field and make the throws like you just showed, that are still so rare and so difficult, and the technical aspect is a 10 out of 10, I guess you could say. If he has time to make those throws, Chase, I think that's a big thing. We'll see if Seattle can get to him and maybe create some pressure to where then that secondary that's very talented and has a lot of different players back there can maybe make a play or two. And I think that might be a big part of this. Okay, then the pick on this one here is Hillette.
I mean, look, I'm going with both home teams. I think the Seahawks are just too good defensively, man. They're just so well coached. They're a well-oiled machine. You're coming off a really like a beatdown against the 49ers. The thing that I'm going to be paying attention, I think the Rams can score. I just don't know if they can score enough. It's going to come down to special teams. It's going to come down to where's that block punt? Where's that field goal miss? And you just look at the special teams disaster. And I know Harrison Mevis, MIZ, thicker kicker out there, won the game. But this entire year has been a complete disaster for the Rams special teams. And I think there's just a play. I do think there's a play where Seattle makes more in the special teams game to push them over the top. I think it stays close, but Seattle rolls.
Yeah, I'm going with the team that maybe is the most complete team in football. I'm going back to when I asked a bunch of executives of just when the playoffs started, give me a description of each team. And the universal one essentially was one word or another. Seattle's the best team in football in terms of most complete team. And so I think I think these are the 2 best teams in football, these 2. Yeah. But I think the Rams might be the most complete team.
So this is your Super Bowl.
This is my Super Bowl, I guess, even though I'll be at the other game. This is my Super Bowl. And I want to see how Seattle's defense, if they can really find ways to, be able to come downhill, Chase, and stop that run game in the personnel that they want to play. And you know what I mean by that. So in the personnel they want to play in the back, can they still come down and be able to stop the run? I think it's going to be fascinating. All right, you've covered a lot of college football this year. So when we come back, we're going to talk about the potential number 1 overall pick, Fernando Mendoza, and what Chase thinks about his college game translating to the NFL. Actually, with the Raiders. Talk about it next in Scoop City. Welcome back to Scoop City. I'm James Palmer here. Now, listen, you listen to us. Now we want to hear from you. We're asking you to fill out a quick survey about you and your podcast habits by going to theathletic.com/survey26. That's 3 lucky entries now. Will win $100 worth of Amazon vouchers too. Ho, ho, ho. I like the sound of that. So whether you're a longtime listener or a new one, we want to hear your feedback. Go to theathletic.com/survey26. That's theathletic.com/survey26. The link is it backslash, by the way? I think I'm saying it wrong. Is it just slash?
It's backslash.
Oh, okay. The link is also in your episode description. You don't read those type of things very often. Thank you. All right. Chase Daniel back with me. And Chase, I want to know, about Fernando Mendoza. I want to give a congratulations to all those Hoosiers fans out there. Listen, you beat us in the Big Ten championship game. I'm fine with it because I'm happy for my buddy Rhett Lewis, who was a good buddy of ours over at NFL Network. Proud Hoosier, played there.
He went to Hoosier? No kidding.
Yeah, he played there, man. I think he was
that's awesome.
I think he said he won like I want to say he won like less games during his career than they won this year.
16. Yeah. Oh, that makes sense.
So I think, or the same, whatever it is. So listen, we saw Tom Brady and Mark Davis and everybody there watching in person to see Fernando Mendoza. You're breaking down a lot of this film, and to make sure you always go see everything Chase is breaking down with quarterbacks is the best in the business. What are you seeing from Fernando Mendoza that maybe will translate or maybe won't translate? Just break it down for me about him going to the NFL level, if he could potentially be that number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lock. I think you can just like lock it, throw away the key, Dunzo, number 1 pick for sure. The question is, who's it going to be for? Does someone jump ahead of the Raiders? Do the Jets? What? I don't think that's probably the case. I think the Raiders are going to pick and stick. And the thing about Fernando Mendoza, let's go backwards. The time at Cal, like I thought he played really, really good football. Actually showed. Even it's weird. It showed more arm strength to me. Maybe it was the type of offense they were running at Cal. Mm-hmm. And then you go in the portal and you don't know and then all of a sudden Indiana, you're like, okay, like Indiana, sure. Mm-hmm. Like, why not? Why not? And you just see him grow so much over the course of the year. And I'm not just talking about physical tools. I'm talking about growing into a leader that you're going to be. I'm talking about every single person in that locker room loves you. I'm talking about you are the same person on the field as you are off the field. You're not fake. You hold yourself accountable. You're leading by example. You're doing all these things. And I know the offensive coordinator very well. And so I have some inside information just about the growth process of what he's done. And then you go and you take Indiana. You take one of the worst college teams 2 or 3 years ago in a long, long time, and it takes 2 years, and you played for 1 year, and you're able to do this. You're able to go 16-0 against the blue bloods of the sport. I mean, starting with Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game, they played. I mean, look, you guys only lost by 3, so you guys are technically second place or whatever. Woo-hoo. But his college football playoff run, including that Ohio State Big Ten, that to me, just watch those games right there. That to me should tell you everything you need to know as a GM in Tom Brady. And when you break down the film, this is your first look at the scouting report. Here's what I see, because I've done 3 or 4 games so far on the YouTube channel, is the first thing that jumps off, and it's a little bit weird. I just love the way he plays. I just love the way he plays, the way he carries himself on the field, right? The passion, the poise, the heart that he has. There's a lot of tangible things, James. You know this. You've been covering the sport longer than me, for sure. There's a lot of tangible things that you can measure through this entire draft process. The hardest thing for GMs to measure is the intangibles. And with Fernando Mendoza, and I know some other people have said this, but I've been thinking this for a while, the reason why I think the Raiders pick and stick is because I think that Tom Brady sees himself a little bit in Fernando Mendoza, the way that everyone has doubted him, the way that still people doubt him, maybe not the strongest arm. But when you put on the tape and you watch Fernando Mendoza become an absolute assassin at a blitz pressure and pick it up with the offensive line, slide it the right way, throw it behind, it's just it's like clockwork. So you can't measure that. I do think that a lot of people are like, well, he doesn't have a really strong arm. Okay, here's the thing. He's got a strong enough arm. He's more athletic than you think. Mm-hmm. As emphasized by that 4th and 5 national championship on the line quarterback draw. Mm-hmm. So he's more athletic than you think. The number one thing, and I've gotten this from other coaches too, when I look, his eyes, James, in the pocket are never in the wrong spot. He's never rush watching. His eyes are always in the right spot, meaning from an outsider's perspective, he's always starting with the right read. Now, they don't just do full progression reads either. So he's extremely smart. He knows what to do. And I just think he progresses really well. He sees it good enough. And the one thing that I'm like, well, Chase, you're giving all positives. Okay, well, what are the negatives, Because everyone likes the negatives, right? He plays a little bit slow motion at times. And at the next level, he has to fix that. And I think his pocket presence and pocket awareness is not great, right? You're going to have to figure that out, take some sacks. But yeah, that's the scouting report. I just love I love the story of the Hoosiers, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, begrudgingly, I do too, Chase. Yes, as well. But you're right. I love what you said about the eyes. I mean, that's just something that a lot of people, evaluators that you talk to, I talk to, sometimes that can never be fixed if you don't have good eyes. Like it may never come. The pocket feel makes me a little uncomfortable because when do you ever throw with a clean pocket in the NFL?
Yeah.
That just doesn't happen. But man, if anybody can see through it all and look and measure the intangibles, it's Tom Brady. He was Mr. Intangible.
Facts.
He was that's
No doubt.
The little things are what got him to where he's at. And man, I love those receivers in Indiana, by the way, too. I just want to throw my 2 cents.
They're ballers, dude.
Oh,
Becker.
Man,
Come on now.
Becker. I love Elijah Surratt. I mean, that guy's I had some people in Indiana tell me, kind of a poor man's Puka Nacua in terms of contested catches. Back shoulder stuff is awesome. Gets dirty in the run game. There's some football players coming out of Indiana. And how often have we said that? I mean, that's the best compliment scouts give anybody is they're a football player. So awesome breakdown, Chase. Enjoy your championship weekend. We're going to be back talking about who's going to, it's a real sentence. We're going to be on Monday talking about who's going to the Super Bowl.
Oh my gosh.
All right, here we go. It's been a year. Awesome. All right, for Dianna Russini, Chase Daniel, I'm James Palmer. Enjoy your weekend of the conference championships.
Thanks for watching Scoop City. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and feel free to leave a comment. New episodes of Scoop City drop every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday.